Today is Saturday, August 25th, and today we're going to be hiking Capitol Peak. For a full hike review of Capitol Peak, check the link below. So right now we're at the Trailhead. You can see it's pretty much a clusterfuck up here, a lot of cars. The plan for today is to hike up to the lake, camp there, and then get an early start on the mountain tomorrow morning. This is arguably the hardest standard 14er route in the state, but it doesn't mean that there are not going to be a lot of people here. So quick note about the drive in: it's pretty doable with any vehicle. I'd say there's a couple spots that if you have a super low clearance car you might scrape, but otherwise it's a pretty straightforward road. Only a little whiles in, you can already see Capitol. Pretty cool view. A little over 3 miles in here, it's going to be your trail split. So right, you can kind of see is blocked off with this log and some rocks. Basically you're going to want to go over here and then cross the stream. So this is where the Capitol Ditch Trail ends, and you're going to get back onto the standard Capitol Creek trail. A little over 5.3 miles into the hike, and we're finally starting to gain some good elevation here, just shy of 11,000 feet. Taking a look back, you can kind of see where we initially came from, which is basically like back that way. And almost to the lake. So once you get close to the lake, right around 6 miles, 11,600 feet, camp spots, start looking for them on your right. And I'll show you where we end up camping once we find our spot. Here is a great look at almost the whole ridge to Capitol. So the summit is up there, knife edge is somewhere right around there. K2 is right around there, and so the lake is like right over this hump here, and basically in the morning we're gonna kind of work our way up to that point right there and then over to Capitol. Now very, very, very important stuff here. So when you're coming down, you can see these steep, super steep exposed drop-offs. You do not want to take any shortcuts back down to the lake. I'll show you a closer version once we're at the lake, but this is where all the deaths occur, is in this section right here, because people get tired or they think it's a shortcut and they come down these sections here, and they just result in very, very bad endings for people. Okay, so taking a look around here, right below the lake, it's like right where those people are, like right over that. So tomorrow you might be able to see the trail works its way up there, gain the ridge right there, and then you start your way up towards Capitol, which is right there. So this is a spot to look for camping. There are signs for designated camping spots. Usually the rule of thumb in Snowmass Wilderness is to camp at least 50 yards or 100 yards away from water. So if you can't find a designated spot, you can always try that route as well. Morning from Capitol Peak. So looking back, Andrew and Nick, so we basically came from this basin here. Capitol Lake is down there. I'll show you guys the approach on the way down. K2 is right here. You don't have to go up this ridge if you don't want to. You could skirt around. We decided to go up to the top. But the knife edge is basically right after that. We're going to be moving quick though, because clouds are moving in. If the weather does look shitty at this point for you, turn around. It's not worth it. It's a long, long hike, even though it's not a lot of distance from here to the top of Capitol Peak. Summit of K2, you can now look at the entire rest of the way up to Capitol, which is there. Knife edge is right around there. Again, if you have bad weather, turn the hell around. This is a very exposed and technical remaining route to the summit. So from here, you can down climb to regain the ridge and then just slowly work your way over. But still another, I would say 2 or 3 hours of climbing at least till you get to the summit, even though it's only about a little under a mile away here. Beautiful morning golden hour here on the ridge of Capitol. We have quite a party of people here, but looking back, you can see Snowmass over there, a couple or 3 actually high alpine lakes here. Just a beautiful sunrise so far. So to give you an idea of conditions on the ridge, it's pretty exposed. I'll get up here and show you both sides. The rock seems to be pretty solid so far. You can see Andrew and Nick working across a pretty exposed class 3 section there. Yeah, so you can see the knife edge itself is about, I don't know, 50 feet long, 60 feet long. You can definitely walk across it. The rock this morning is pretty slick, so you can see different techniques on getting across. The most popular would be to put your hands on the right side and just scoot your way across. You could straddle it if you want to look like a complete noob, or you could walk across it like the dude in the green jacket's doing there. But in either case, be careful because the rock is slippery. This algae here gets surprisingly slippery in the morning. Looking over to Snowmass there and down to these high alpine lakes, back to K2 there, you can see a couple people on top. Beautiful morning so far. So looking back on the knife edge now, you can see a couple people scooting across. The rock was slick for us, so it was pretty sketchy. I scooted a little bit, but the rock is very solid. So just take your time, take deep breaths, and take it all in, really. So from here, you still got a lot of work to go. We got a lot of class 4 moves, and the summit is still quite a ways away here. So kind of a sad note here, but needs to be talked about. Do not go down this way. This is I don't know, a point along the way before you get back to the knife edge on the way back down. This is where people die, I believe 7 in 2017, because people think that this is a quicker or faster, more direct way down to the lake, because it does look close, but just do not do this. Continue on and go back the same way you came, and then you can kind of look all the way back and see the same thing. So just do not take shortcuts. There's no shortcuts on this mountain. Still plugging away on the ridge here. It's been pretty solid, a couple loose sections, but for the most part, pretty good rock. The algae that I was talking about, this is what I'm referring to. All this green here on the rock. I think there must have been a little precipitation in the air last night. So until the sun burned off the moisture, it made some pretty slick rock sections this morning. But you can see the summit is actually kind of right up there. We're getting very close, but this little traverse here reminds me of Pyramid when you kind of skirt across, where it's pretty exposed, but it's, you know, class 3 at the highest. So nothing too crazy to deal with, but yeah, home stretch here and be on the summit soon. Final stretch here, summit block is right up there where those two hikers are, if you can see them. This is where class 4 terrain picks up. Pretty good exposure here, close to the summit block, right up there. Just kind of continuing our way through this rock mess that is Capitol Peak. Here's a great look at the whole ridge. Someone's on the knife ridge right now, K2, and summit is where all those people are. So once you get here, just minor class 3, and you're in the home stretch. I made a comment before about kind of going up this way. I would definitely not recommend that. Stick to this side, stick to the standard route. You don't want to be messing around on Capitol. Too many unknowns. You hit a section like this right here where you cliff out, just not great.
Oh man, that's cool. Right?
All right, summit of Capitol Peak, 52 down, in the clouds now. Give you a quick whirl around. Not much views because we're sitting in clouds. You can do kind of two routes to get from this area over here to the summit. So I rode out the ridge a little bit. It's more exposed, a little class 3, I'd say. Otherwise, you can kind of stick down low and go that route instead. You can see Capitol Lake here in and out of the clouds. Again, I can't tell you enough. There's no shortcuts down, so go back the way you came. Summit time was incredibly brief, but we weren't sure what was going to be happening with the clouds. It's looking like it's going to be okay now, but even still, it's very slow going. You can see Nick and Andrew working down the route here. So this is another view of the final stretch to the summit. You can kind of stay high or stay low. It kind of depends on what you're most comfortable with. Usually I'll kind of edit my videos, and I won't talk a lot about the way down, but Capitol deserves your full attention on the way down just as much as the way up. So I'll be showing some parts on the way down that might give you some pain, and just to kind of look out for. Working our way down here, you can see some pretty serious down climbs depending on the way you go. Obviously, you want to aim for same route you came up. Pretty awesome view here of all the lakes. Looking over to K2 right there. You can see almost the entire ridge as well. So this will give you a good perspective on this side, not to bail early, because you can kind of see all of these super steep slopes here that do not have any bailout points. So again, can't say it enough, just go back the same way you came. Looking back at the crossover here, it looks like such a short distance to the summit, and that's actually a false summit right there. So the real one's a little further than that, but this is such slow going stuff. Tons and tons of loose rock. Assuming that you're hiking Capitol when anybody else is, please use good communication. Just even if it's like overly loud, just yell rock, something, so people below you are can kind of be aware. We've been sending stuff flying all day. Beautiful view. You can see there's a plane flying around Snowmass over there, which is pretty cool. You can see the two people there, so we're almost back to the knife edge portion of the traverse. Pretty good exposure here. Again, do not take this shortcut. Go back that way. Or maybe not. Maybe it's this section. I want to put the knife edge in perspective here. You can kind of see how wide it is. You can see those two guys working their way across. So it's really a small section, maybe 50 feet, 60 feet. You can take a look to the right. You really could cheat and just walk most of it on the right side. But yeah, to kind of give you a full-blown overhead angle too. Just take your time. Nothing too scary. Looking back, clouds rolling in. Nick and Andrew working their way back across the knife edge one last time. These don't look great. So we're trying to get down here pretty quick. Overall, I'd say the knife edge is more mentally challenging the first time around, and then the second time you kind of have a feel for it. A very solid rock, and you know, lots of handhold and footholds along the way. Heading down now through the boulder field. So you're going to aim for this gray rock here. So I don't know, whatever color this is, tan, and then go gray, and then loop left. Okay. To look back up this way, you can see K2 right there. And this is kind of the part we wasn't able to show you in the morning because it was too dark. From here, you're basically just going to go work your way around from your initial saddle that you hike up from the lake over to here. It's definitely a mix and mash of talus, boulders, rock hopping, dirt. I would say don't go too far up. We did see some people going up the ridge. I don't think that's a standard route, but this is definitely the standard route. So when you're kind of working your way back over, or this way to where we are now, just kind of try to stay in the middle. Don't go too high. You can get cliffed out and have much harder class 3. And if you go too low, you're going to have to regain elevation that you don't need to. Looking down at Capitol Lake, you can see the path up to Capitol Pass as well. This will give you some good perspective as why you don't want to go down that side as well. So. But anyway, yeah, you can see all the camping sites over there, and then your approach is kind of back that way. Back down at Capitol Lake here. What a beautiful view. So a couple notes about this hike now that we're back at the lake. Obviously not dog friendly. I wouldn't recommend bringing a dog up there. Terrible idea. All in all, a great hike, very exhausting. If I had to rank it in terms of stuff I've done, probably top 3 or 5 difficulty. In terms of the 14ers, just a lot of variation, elevation gain, route finding, exposure. Hey guys, sorry my audio kicked out there while I was at Capitol Lake, but basically I would say that Capitol was a little less technical than I was expecting. Still definitely a full day on the mountain and lots of energy being expended, but overall it was actually a really fun hike if you can kind of get past that exposure element. For a full hike review of Capitol Peak, you can check the link below. Please subscribe to not miss any future hike videos, and I'll see you on the next mountain. Thanks for watching.